everyone, I'm Force Free Lava, and this is Speedplay Germany and Hearts of Iron 4, number 18. We left off having invaded something like maybe 25% of Brazil. Venezuela has fallen, Guiana has fallen, all three portions of it. We are producing quite a few submarines, with the intent being to just produce as many submarines as possible at the expense of any other type of ship, in order that we may increase our reconnaissance level throughout pretty much just the entire ocean, or really anywhere relevant for naval invasions. We're also building rocket-powered jets, rocket interceptors and whatnot, just to get our Air Force up to top quality, and we are continually invading Brazil, who is at this point the leader of what remains of the Allies. We are doing rather poorly against them, not because their military is so powerful or anything along those lines, simply because they are just a bit of a hassle to deal with, since it is just all forests and jungles, and our armored units are not entirely set up to fight in that sort of environment. You'll notice we do have 2 invasions on their way. That is hopefully going to be the straw, or I guess the massive armored invasion, to break the camel, or I guess allied resistance's back. We also go ahead, upgrade all of our strategic bomber elements from just level 2 to level 3 strategic bombers. It's probably not going to even be relevant, as I don't think we've even deployed a single strategic bomber in the entirety of the war, and we're doing decently well. Our forces are attempting to cut off really just everyone in Africa, where the majority of the fighting is occurring, despite the fact that we're not really paying attention to the front. We did manage to land in Uruguay, and now our forces are just rolling through the countryside. You'll notice it is not all dense forest. Uruguay capitulated, which is fantastic news, and we're just steamrolling on up. Alright, that all said and done, we're just going to try to use those forces to plow into Brazil now. We've landed another group of forces near the Brazilian capital, and their whole point is just going to be to seize that, which they did successfully, and now roll up along the coast and into the Brazilian interior, taking as much land as we possibly can before they're able to mount an effective resistance. Hopefully those 2 invasions will be able to unify and then press up as a united front, which they have already managed to do, facing very limited Brazilian resistance, which is, to be expected, since most of their forces are off in the hinterlands. Somewhere just capitulated, Portugal. I believe there are still a bunch of allied units in the area, so that's not going to be all that great. We can hopefully knock the French out of Africa real quick, and hopefully just damage what is left of South Africa. Meanwhile, our forces in Brazil are coming against resistance, which is rather sad, actually, and we're also still using all of our really outdated equipment. All of our mechanized units and all of our better armored units are still just kind of chilling in Europe, actually, just still in Germany proper. I think we have a group of 25 of them, all those new and advanced units, which we're just kind of not really bringing to bear, in part because supplies are one of the major issues we're dealing with, and it wouldn't really make all that much sense to just bring in more forces to further damage our supply lines. Part of our armored advance just got caught off. They're going to just still charge, though, and try to take whatever Brazilian victory points they can, since at this point I'm rather tired of Brazilian resistance, and I figure the rest of our armored columns are just going to rush on up and put them back into supplied areas. Or bring the supplied areas up to them. Besides, if they manage to take a port, then the issue kind of resolves itself anyway. There is still resistance. We did manage to just go take several of the Brazilian victory points, all of their various capitals. They did create a new one, which hopefully we'll be able to just kind of rummage on up to. And all of a sudden it looks like they capitulated, so what we're going to do is just grab pretty much everything we can in Europe. I consider just taking all of Romania, but deciding against it to focus on other things first, which is going to be the United Kingdom. We're going to try to take the eastern seaboard of the United States, really all that good stuff. It looks like we still have just a massive amount of points, so we go ahead and take Sweden, Norway. We're going to leave Gibraltar, probably take some islands, go ahead and push the line of Canadian and American areas a little further, take some islands, Panama Canal, just the entire eastern seaboard of the North American continent. May as well just take over all of Latin America that we've conquered, since we fought hard enough for it. The Suez Canal zone, that would be nice. Iran, since that'll give us access to the Indian Ocean. We'll just take Pakistan, all of the Arabian bits, all of the former German colonies in World War I Africa. just the rest of the Middle East, connect those bits, and a decent portion of India. It looks like we've gone too far, so we go ahead and scale that back a little bit. We could take Singapore, so we're probably going to do that, but stop getting our African bits. We'll give those all to Italy or whatever. Alright, so that ticks by. We're going to just keep taking India as much as we can. Looks like we can't actually take that much, so we'll probably just take a bit of the United States and all that, leaving off what we can't really expect to get, which is just going to be California, Nevada. And turns are ticking by. We can probably go ahead and take some elements of just various places. Turns ticking by again. We may be able to take over just a bit more lands. Honestly, at this point, we're going to just try to take all the lands that we possibly can, which appears to be pretty much everything left in the peace deal. So we go ahead and grab all that. The borders are going to look awful, but I consider that we might be able to start giving territories away to our various allies once the peace deal actually figures out. I'm a little upset that Vichy France got all of French territories back, and I discover, to my chagrin, a couple things. We can't actually give any of our allies control over states while we're not at war, so all of these borders are basically permanent. Furthermore, we can't dissolve the Axis, so we're basically stuck with the geopolitical situation as it is right now. Neither of those things are really great. It looks like we just bypassed a whole bunch of our national ideas, and the Olympics are held in Japan. And it looks like Japan and the United States win, despite the fact that we and the United States win, despite the fact that the US doesn't exist. So yeah, I guess that's the end of that then. Thank you very much for staying and watching the whole thing. I'm not entirely sure what series we're going to start after this. I am partially tempted to go back into, say, EU4. Alternatively, we could play as a minor power somewhere in the world. Maybe something like Poland. Someone suggested Austria, the British Raj, maybe try to get independence and do our own thing, set our own course in the world. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to give it some thought. Suggestions are welcome. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. It was a bit of a long ride. Sorry this last portion of it took so long. Have a great day.